share with you a journey that I'm going on. And it's going to kind of be a new series of videos here. And I don't think they're going to necessarily be all that linear or all that informational. So I've decided to call them Bloomsbury Diaries. And the point of this is to share the journey that I'm going to take as I'm exploring the Bloomsbury group for myself, and how that manifests in the books that I read, in the art that I make. I may be doing some writing around this, because this fascination has always kind of been there and underlying my life since seeing the film Carrington, starring Emma Thompson and Jonathan Pryce in the 90s. I saw it in theater when it was released, and that movie profoundly affected me on many different levels. It's primarily about the relationship between Linton Strachey and Dora Carrington, who were, Linton Strachey, I guess, is considered an official member of the Bloomsbury group. Carrington was more on the fringes of that, I think. She was a painter. And there's a lot of personal importance in the story for me, which I may or may not share here. But I think what I do want to share in these diaries is maybe the mind of the artist as they explore a subject. I don't think that this is going to be anything that is quickly completed, and there's not a succinct amount of books, because there are so many books written by the Bloomsbury group, written about them, that I could probably read on this topic for the rest of my life and still not read all of it. So what this will be is essentially a series of videos that could go on infinitely. And why I want to document them and why I want to create a diary is that I want to keep a record of this exploration and offer it up as a way to kind of share the experience of having in this little obsession, where which books I read in which order, how they affect me, whether I like them or not, who emerges as the kind of favorites in terms of the writers and in terms of the artists that were involved, and how this all evolves and affects my work itself. Because I think for me, one of the greatest parts of being an artist is that I'm often influenced by the work of others. And I think that right now, what I'm coming to understand in myself is that the work of the Bloomsbury group has affected me somehow, has opened something in my work and in how my work is evolving. So again, I want to explore that. I just finished reading Orlando by Virginia Woolf for the first time. This is the second novel that I've read of hers. The first novel I read was Mrs. Dalloway. And I think that I read it at a point in my life where her style was pretty much lost on me, because I had just seen the film The Hours. And so I definitely will reread Mrs. Dalloway now that I've read Orlando. And the beginning of the book I enjoyed, but I didn't think it was anything that was gonna blow me away. If you're not familiar with the plot of Orlando, it follows the character Orlando in a biography-esque style from the late Elizabethan era through to 1928. She seems to be able to survive all these years and transforms. She transforms from a man into a woman. And there's so much in this novel that, as I said, I just finished it like half an hour ago, so I'm not going to try to analyze this book right now. But I was very deeply affected by a lot of the things, especially in the second half, once Orlando becomes a woman. And I highlighted things, and I will reread it in future, because I think, having read the whole novel, and I get the whole novel now, it will definitely make me read the first half again in it with a different perspective. So I definitely think it's going to be a reread material. And there's a lot in there that I think are themes for Virginia Woolf's work. I have read A Room of One's Own, which I know a lot of Virginia Woolf experts believe kind of encompasses all of her ideas in it. And what emerged for now that I would like to point out at this point is her observations on gender roles, her observations on the lives of women and men, her stream of consciousness way of writing, which I think can definitely be distracting for people, but also allows her to convey many, many layers in the novel format. Her very deep connection to nature and to nature's influence on being a human, and how we are as humans within the natural landscape, and her references to water, I think, really emerge as well. She puts a lot of importance on there. So, it's certainly not a perfect novel. There's definitely shortcomings based on the time that she lived in, her class, her perceptions of race, and her own shortcomings. But I think that there are points where they're called to question in the best way that she could have done in her time, not being of our time, with our ability to see the injustice that we see now. So I think that's all I have to say at this point. But like I said, these are going to be done in kind of diary formats, and they're also going to be interspersed with my artwork as it evolves and changes. And I hope that you'll enjoy this format, and I hope that anyone who is also an appreciator of the Bloomsbury group will contribute your thoughts and your impressions. And I would also like to say that this exploration is not only going to be through reading, it's also going to be through film, through watching both fictional and documentary films, through, any sort of lectures or other types of media that I can pull into this. So I'm going to check in anytime that I consume something that relates. And this is going to be this journey. I certainly plan to document this continuously, but there will be, I think, other topics in this area that I explore in future. And it'll be in this format as well, this kind of diary format, as opposed to organized, more structured informational videos. And then I'm not ruling out the fact that I could also make more organized instructional videos as well. So that is that. And yeah, I'll check in again.